All right, buddy, it's Dr. Navoa. As I said, this is a work in progress, and I don't know where my screen is right now, so give me a moment. Well, there's the Facebook, and where is my screen? All right, so, well, let me check my phone. Pardon me again. Okay, so thanks again for signing in. Well, let me turn the volume down before I get feedback. So, what I wanted to do today is kind of incorporate what we've been seeing in the past year related to implants. Now, for the plastic surgeons, their main implant revenue generating machine is going to be the breast implants. So, as a comparison, the a significant revenue generating machine for the OBGYNs was the Essure device. So much so that it became corrupted for a majority of OBGYNs to offer the Essure device because it was a cash generating machine. If you could do a tubal ligation in your office and get $3,000 for it, that was an incredible amount of money compared to $300 in the hospital for a tubal ligation done under traditional methods such as laparoscopy. And starting in approximately 2016, when the FDA was made aware that Essure was having so many problems, they did their advisory committee meetings, and what ended up happening was that, let me pull back here because my face is getting. Let me pull back a little bit. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull this back a little bit so that you can see me a little bit better. Let's hope. Let me take a look at that next. Okay, so what ended up happening is this. The OBGYNs argued with the FDA about being told what they could tell their patients. They basically said that this was a violation of the physician patient relationship. In reality, it was a bunch of BS. I'm sorry. I'm going to be kind of informal. That was a bunch of BS. Okay. The majority of doctors that were placing Essure knew that the Essure had complications. And those that to this day still are claiming that Essure was a great product, they're either not reading the data on it, they're basically gaslighting you, like I said, we do as doctors. And the fact of the matter is, they're not even talking to you about the black box warning or the patient checklist. Now, I wanted to, and I know that this is in reverse, but here we go. This you can get online as the bare recommendation patient checklist for Essure. It is 20, let's see, it is 22 pages long. So let me ask, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that got the Essure, well, ladies, for those of you that got the Essure placed after 2016, and specifically after 2018, did you get a 22-page handout telling you how bad the Essure was? If you would have been told with a 22-page handout how bad the Essure was, would you have gotten the Essure device? Okay, I can pretty much guarantee that 99% of the women after 2016 that got Essure placed probably would have never have agreed to have Essure had they been given a 22-page handout. Okay, so I digress for a moment. So what happened is that the OBGYNs thought that the FDA was good enough to point blank just ignore even going over the informed consent related to Essure. But the FDA was somehow politically motivated or incorrect by insisting that patients that got Essure be told about the complications associated with Essure. Well, let's be honest. That's so wrong in so many ways. Okay, your doctor was obligated to tell you what was wrong and what was being said was wrong with Essure way back in 2016. So all those ladies that got the Essure placed after 2016, if your doctor did not talk to you about what's in this 22-page document, basically your doctor wasn't looking out for your best interest. Now, why am I comparing that? I'm comparing that to the plastic surgeons. Now, the plastic surgeons have known for a long time that their breast implants are associated with a particular type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is BIALCL. And that's why textured implants were pulled off the market. But the FDA went a step further than that and insisted that patients be told about the potential issues with breast implants. And now, if you're not aware, breast implants have a black box warning, just like Essure had a black box warning. Just like Essure is associated with systemic autoimmune reactions under what's called the Autoinflammatory Autoimmune Syndrome Induced by Adjuvants, or ASIA effect, plastic surgeons have been aware of this for years or even decades, but they haven't put two and two together. They assumed that all of the symptoms associated with breast implants were all in the patient's head. They tried to figure out whether or not there was was it inducing autoimmune conditions, and they found no, it wasn't. But they really didn't look into say, well, did the symptoms mimic autoimmune diseases such as lupus, for example, fibromyalgia, for example. And what happened was that the general population of women on Facebook and Googling and Instagram and Twitter, they started saying the same thing, that these breast implants cause all of these foreign body reactions. I'm suffering from after having had the breast implants placed, and what is this all about? And they described it as something called breast implant illness. Now, what has happened is that the plastic surgeons acknowledge that in a certain number of patients, breast implant illness may exist. And a very few OBGYNs acknowledge that Essure is associated with autoimmune problems. But the FDA recognizes that now in their black box warnings, in the black box warning of Essure and in the black box warning of the breast implants. I have to commend the plastic surgeons because I went ahead and pulled their patient checklist, the ones that the American Society of Plastic Surgeons created. Now, this patient checklist for breast implants is, I think it's 14 pages long. And now, this particular document, or the document provided by the company, the companies that make the implants themselves, such as Natril and Allergan, they're also 14 pages long. But you're not getting any pushback from the plastic surgeons on that. As a matter of fact, it's required. If you're going to get breast implants now, you're going to need to go over this patient checklist and initial a number of boxes on it. But here's an interesting thing, and I want you to, again, go back to comparing it to the Essure. What we're looking at is a bunch of statistical evaluations related to breast implants and foreign body reaction. And again, I want to generalize that as breast implant illness is a subcategory of autoinflammatory autoimmune syndrome induced by adjuvants. So if you have the umbrella, and then you have breast implants, and also you have Essure, you have Felshi clips, you have Holka clips, you have meshes, you have stents, you have IUDs. That's the link that I want all of you to understand. If you're thinking that your implant is not associated with ASIA, you're wrong. Thank you. You're wrong. It is associated with ASIA. Under the ASIA effect, you have an umbrella of ASIA, and you have all of these different implants that are associated with foreign body reactions. That's the link. Now, the plastic surgeon's patient checklist does not include Asia as a description, but it's enough of a description of breast implant illness for us to have to be on the same page. Now, look at what they're talking about here. Most common systemic signs or symptoms listed in the breast implant medical device reports from 2008 to 2019. Fatigue, brain fog. That sounds familiar with meshes and with Essure. Joint pain, anxiety, hair loss, depression, rash, autoimmune diseases, inflammation, and weight fluctuation. Fatigue, 49%, brain fog, 25%, joint pain, 25%, anxiety, 24%, hair loss, 21%, depression, 19%, rash, 18%, autoimmune diseases, 18%, inflammation, 18%, weight fluctuations, 18%. So where the plastic surgeons have wholeheartedly taken on the patient checklist, created their own, and require patients to now sign it as a foreign body reaction, informed consent, the OBGYNs fought tooth and nail not to have that happen. What ended up happening is the FDA pushed back and said, you will have this patient checklist done, or you're not going to be able to buy the Essure anymore. Essure sales plummeted after that, and Bayer took the Essure off the market a year or two later. That's the distinction between OBGYNs and plastic surgeons. Now, I'm a cosmetic surgeon, so I know a lot about what's going on here between what the plastic surgeon's mentality is and what the OBGYN's mentality is. And I applaud the plastic surgeons for doing this step. And I criticize the OBGYNs who still to this day, you can still walk into an OBGYN's office, some of them still have Essure pamphlets and stuff like that on the wall or available, and still argue the fact that Essure was a great product. It wasn't a great product, because if you really looked at the literature, if you really looked at the data, you know that that was a false statement. So where am I going with all of this? All of the people in the gallbladder clip group, all of the people in the mesh, whether or not it's hernia meshes, whether or not it's vaginal meshes, whether or not it's tension-free urethral tape, whether or not it's rectoperitoneal meshes, whether or not it's Felshi clips, Holka clips, celastic bands, even the Paragard, Mirena, and all of the other types of IUDs. My point is the same. All of these devices are foreign bodies. All of these devices, in a certain percentage of patients, are associated with a foreign body reaction under the Asia effect, which brings on symptoms that are completely extraordinary and many times mimic autoimmune diseases such as lupus, Sjogren's syndrome, Raynaud's syndrome, fibromyalgia, chronic pain syndrome. That's my point with all of this, is that the mesh group, the gallbladder group, the Felshi clip, Holka clip group. Did you get a 24-page informed consent before your doctor put a clip on your gallbladder, or as part of your gallbladder surgery? Did you get a 24-page informed consent related to your Felshi clips, your Holka clips, elastic bands? Did you get a 24-page informed consent related to hernia meshes, inguinal meshes, vaginal meshes, rectoperitoneal meshes? Did you get an informed consent were you even told? I can bet money on the fact that the vast majority of patients that have gallbladder clips, Felshi clips, Holka clips, elastic bands, all of that, I'm just going to run down, I don't even have to run down the list, were not informed that they had, that any of these devices were associated with foreign body reactions. Worse, many patients, especially with clips, were not informed that a clip was used in their surgery and that these clips are still in your body. All right. These metallic clips, doesn't matter what type they are, surgical clips in general, degrade over time. Nothing is pure titanium. Even when I looked it up, for Felshi clips, for example. They say that it's pure titanium. It's not pure titanium. There is some iron in there. Of course, elastic bands are made out of silicone. Okay, you don't like silicone. And what's more important, as a perfect example, if you have any nickel in any component of your um, device, of your clip, for example, and that's important because these metallic devices degrade over time. They oxidize. They release ions around the tissue. Those ions can leach into your circulatory system, wreaking havoc on your immune system. That's the link, the key to the Asia effect. Here's a take home where for the nictinol, again, I'm sorry that this is reversed, nictinol. Technical consideration for non-clinical assessment of medical devices containing nictinol, which is titanium and nickel. Guidance for industry and Food and Drug Administration staff. This is still in a draft form. But here's the key, which we're talking about with Essure, where we're talking about with any device, whether or not it be a surgical clip, Essure, Felshi clip, or anything else. As the lower limit of nickel exposure that can elicit allergic reactions in some patients is not known, it is not possible to derive a hypersensitivity based threshold for nickel released from nictinol. So when you were told about, well, let's do a patch test before, and many people they did the patch test afterwards. But let me try to stress that point again. If you have a device that has nictinol in it, for example, the Essure, even if they do a patch test and you come back negative for the patch test because the sensitivity of that is not absolute, you can still have a foreign body reaction going on, an autoimmune response going on with your Essure devices, which is the reason why you have chronic headaches, why you're losing hair, why you have brain fog, why you're gaining weight or losing weight, why you have chronic pain, especially in the localized area, why you're losing your teeth, So I just wanted to share today that the FYI, first of all, if you're considering getting breast implants, remember now that it does have a black box warning, and you're supposed to be getting a 14 to 22 page informed consent to initial and sign. I commend the plastic surgeons for designing their informed consent that's even better than the one recommended from the companies that I reviewed. And I, again, am critical of the OBGYNs that the real reason why Essure was still pushed after 2016 is because it was making money for the OBGYNs and their associated, for their associations and for the related companies that were working with these OBGYNs and putting these devices in. So if you didn't get a 14 to 22 page informed consent for your Essure in 2016 and beyond, and if you're thinking about getting a breast augmentation and you haven't signed a 14 to 22 page informed consent for your breast implants, you're going to need to. But I digress again, and I go back to the original point. If you have a mesh in, if you have a gallbladder clip in, if you have Felshi clips, Holka clips, elastic bands, anything else put in your body, have you signed an informed consent? Because here we go back to the sad part. Okay, we as doctors create the standard of care. So and we change it periodically, we change the standard of care. The standard of care right now is that it's okay to put in a surgical clip, to leave a gallbladder clip in, to tell you that a tubal ligation is going to be done and then not burn or cut, but to put a Felshi clip or a Holka clip on your fallopian tubes. To modify a mesh that's meant for a hernia and modify it so we can use it as a vaginal mesh, even though they took vaginal meshes off the market a few years ago, or modify a hernia mesh and use it as a rectoperitoneal mesh. It's okay to do all those things without telling the patient what we're doing or how we're doing it. All right. As far as I'm concerned, if you use a surgical clip and you leave it in there and you don't tell the patient that you put in a surgical clip, that's paramount to a failure of informed consent, a failure of the standard of care, and in certain cases, medical battery. So, in order to change the standard of care to obligate your doctor to tell you, which is common sense, is hey, if you put something in my body, tell me what you put in my body. Okay, many doctors don't do that, but to change the standard of care, we're going to have to force doctors to say, hey, listen, if you put something in my body, I want to know what you put in my body. If you're going to put something in my body, I'm going to have to give you written consent before you do that, not after the fact. Because as with the gallbladder group, you understand this is happening everywhere, in all parts of the world. Doctors are able to remove a gallbladder and leave these clips behind, but they refuse to go back and remove the clips, claiming that it's too complicated or they don't feel comfortable removing clips. They surely felt comfortable putting him in there without your permission. I think it's time for them to start feeling comfortable about going back in there and removing them because you insisted they do so. So the only way that the standard of care is going to change is for you to make the standard of care change. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see if I can come up with some more topics. Oh, I have plenty of topics for next week. Hey, ovarian cancer and tubal ligation or sutures, permanent sutures, are they associated with problems? Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll talk about that next week. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care. Now, how am I going to turn this off? Oh, there we are. Again, a work in progress. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. I found the button. Bye.